Good morning everyone. So today we are going to discuss about cooling systems in tractor. Fuel is poured inside the cylinder of an internal combustion engine to produce power. The temperature produced on the power stroke of an engine can be as high as 1600 degrees Celsius, and this is greater than melting point of engine parts. The cylinder and cylinder head are usually made up of cast iron, and piston is most in most cases are made up of aluminum alloy. It is estimated that about 40% of total heat produced is passed to the atmosphere via the exhaust. 30% is removed by cooling system, and only about 30% is used to produce the useful power. Bad effect of high temperature in the cylinder. Cylinder and piston may expand to such an extent that the piston could seize in the cylinder and stop the engine. Lubricating quality of the oil inside the cylinder would be destroyed due to the high temperature, and there may not be sucking of air in the cylinder. Pre-ignition of fuel mixture would take place and could cause engine knocking as well as loss of power. For satisfactory performance of the engine, neither overheating nor overcooling is desirable. Experiments have shown that best operating temperature of IC engine lies between 140 degree Fahrenheit to 200 degree Fahrenheit depending upon types of engine and load conditions. Purpose of cooling: to maintain optimum temperature of engine for efficient operation under all conditions, to dissipate surplus heat for protection of engine components like cylinder, cylinder head, piston ring and valves, to maintain the lubricating properties of the oil inside the engine cylinder for normal functioning of the cylinder. There are two types of cooling: air cooling and water cooling. Air cooling. Air-cooled engines are those engines in which heat is conducted from the working components of the engine to the atmosphere directly. In such engines, cylinders are generally not grouped in a block. Principle of air cooling. The cylinder of an air-cooled engine has fins to increase the area of contact of air for speedy cooling. The cylinder is normally enclosed in a sheet metal casing called cowling. The flywheel has blades projecting from its surface so that it acts like a fan, drawing air through the hole in the cowling and directing it around the finned cylinder. For maintenance of air cooling system, passage of air is kept clean by removing grasses, etc. This is done by removing the cowling and cleaning out the dirt, etc. by a shift brush or compressed air. When separate fan is provided, the belt tension is to be checked and adjusted if necessary. Advantages of air-cooled engine. It is simpler in design and construction. Water jacket, radiators, water pump, thermostat, pipe, hoses, etc. are not needed. It is more compact. It is comparatively higher in weight. Disadvantages: there is uneven cooling of engine parts. Engine temperature is greatly high during working period. Water cooling. Engine using water as cooling medium is called water-cooled engines. The liquid is circulated around the cylinder to absorb heat from the cylinder wall. In general, water is used as cooling liquid. The heated water is conducted through a radiator which helps in cooling the water. There are three common types of water cooling: open jacket or hooper method, thermosiphon method, forced circulation method. First, open jacket or hooper method. There is an hopper or a jacket containing water which surrounds the engine cylinder. So long as the hopper contains water, the engine continues to operate satisfactorily. As soon as the water starts boiling, it is replaced by cold water. The hopper is large enough to run for several hours without refilling. A drain plug is provided in a low accessible position for draining water as and when required. This system is not common in present days. Chiffon method. It consists of radiator, water jacket, fan, temperature gauge and hose connection. The system is based on the principle that heated water which surrounds the cylinder become lighter in weight and it rises upward in liquid column. Hot water goes to the radiator where it passes through tubes surrounded by air. Circulation of water takes place due to the reason that water jacket and the radiator are connected at both sides, that is at the top and the bottom. A fan is driven with the help of a V-belt to suck air through tubes of radiator unit, cooling radiator water. The disadvantage of the system is that circulation of water is greatly reduced by accumulation of scales or foreign matters in the passage and consequently it causes overheating of the engine. Forced circulation method. In this method, a water pump is used to force water from the radiator to the water jacket of the engine. After circulating the entire run of water jacket, water comes back at the radiator where it loses its heat by the process of radiation. To maintain the correct engine temperature, a thermostat valve is placed at the outer end of the cylinder head. Cooling liquid is bypassed through the water jacket of the engine until the engine attains the desired temperature. Then thermostat valve open and the bypass is closed, allowing the water to go to the radiator. The forced circulation system consists of water pump, radiator, fan belt, water jacket, thermostat valve, temperature gauge, hose pipe. Water pump. It is a centrifugal type pump. It has a casing and an impeller mounted on the shaft. The casing is usually made up of cast iron. Pump shaft is made up of some non-corrosive material. At the end of the shaft, a small pulley is fitted which is driven by an V-belt. When pump is mounted at the front end of the cylinder block between the block and the radiator, when the impeller rotates, the water between the impeller blade is thrown outward by centrifugal forces and thus water goes to the cylinder under pressure. The pump outlet is connected by an hose pipe to the bottom of the radiator. The impeller shaft is supported on one or more bearing. There is a seal which prevents leakage of water. Radiator. It is a device for cooling the circulating water in the engine. It holds a large volume of water in close contact with a large volume of air so that heat is transferred from the water to the air easily. Hot water flows into the radiator at the top and cold water flows out from the bottom. Tubes or passages carries the water from the top of the radiator to the bottom, passing it over a large metal surface. Air flows between the tubes and through the cell at right angle to the downward flowing water. This helps in transfer the heat from the water to the atmosphere. On the basis of the fabrication, the radiator is of two types, tubular type and cellular type. Tubular type radiator. It has round or flat water tubes leading from the top of the bottom of the radiator. They may be soldered, brassed or welded in place or fastened by means of stuffing box at each end. Fins or floated strips of light sheet metal placed between the tubes increases the radiation surface and improves the heat transfer. Cellular type radiator. It has a core made of short air tubes which are laid horizontally and soldered together at the end, which with space between them to allow water to flow. It is also called honeycomb type radiator. Thermostat valve. It is a control valve used in the cooling system to control the flow of water when activated by a temperature signal. It is a special type of valve which closes the inlet passage of the water connected to the radiator. The thermostat is placed in the water passage between the cylinder head and top of the radiator. Its purpose is to close its passage when the engine is cooled so that the water circulation is restricted, causing the engine to reach operating temperature more quickly. Thermostats are designed to start operating at 70 degrees Celsius to 75 degrees Celsius and then fully open at 82 degrees Celsius for petrol engine and 88 to 90 degrees Celsius for diesel engine. The thermostat valve are of two types, bellows and bimetallic. Bellows type thermostat has got bellows which contain a liquid like alcohol or ether. The liquid expands with the increase of temperature and raises the wall of its seat. This permits the water to circulate between the engine and the radiator. Bimetallic type. It consists of a bimetallic strip. Unequal expansion of two metallic strips cause the valve to open and allow the water to flow to the radiator. Water jacket. Water jackets are cored out around the engine cylinder so that water can circulate freely around the cylinder as well as around the valve opening. Fan. The fan is usually mounted on the water pump shaft. It is driven by the same belt that drives the pump and the dynamo. The purpose of the fan is to provide strong draft of air through the radiator to improve engine cooling. Cooling system troubles. Due to defective cooling systems, several adverse effects are noticed, such as overheating and slow warm up of engine. Overheating is mostly due to accumulation of rust and scale in the radiator and water jacket, defective hose pipe, defective thermostat, defective water pump, and defective fan belt. Rust and scale accumulation in the radiator and water jacket. They restrict the circulation of water in the passage. Due to such restriction, engine is overheated. Rust is caused by the oxidation of ferrous part of the cooling system. It has got tendency to clog water passage and to insulate the iron part from the cooling liquid. Rust can be prevented by the use of suitable protectives. Scale is a hard deposit inside the water passage. It acts as the barrier to the flow of heat from the cylinder to the water. Sometimes electrolysis occurs in the cooling system. It is a chemical process which takes place when dissimilar metals are used in the system. One of the metal will be partially completely dissolved. Precaution should be taken to get rid of these elements to prolong the life of the cooling system. Sometimes there is a leakage in the hose pipe and consequently the water in the radiator is scorched very quickly. Sometimes the thermostat is stuck up in its seat due to some destruction and it does not function properly. Slow warming up the engine is mainly due to defective thermostat. Defective water pump distribution disturbs completely the circulation of water in the system. Loose fan belt causes slippage of pulley and reduces effectiveness of cooling. Care and maintenance of cooling system. Clean and fresh water should be filled in the radiator. Lime-free water should be used in the radiator as far as possible for prevention of scale formation. Rotten or soft hose pipe should not be used in the system. The tension of the fan belt should be checked very frequently. A loose belt will cause overheating, reduced charging current, and high wear of the belt. If the belt is very tight, it will cause wear on the pulley of pump and dynamo. The maximum permissible V belt sag, which when applied, average finger pressure is 15 mm. If it is more than its limit, the belt should be adjusted. Oil and grease should also be kept away from the belt. Greasy belt should be wiped clean with a rag. The bearing of the water pump should be lubricated regularly. Very hot engines should never be filled with cooled water to avoid fracture in the cylinder wall and the cylinder head. Radiator and water jacket should be flushed out with special air pressure guns. Radiator can be cleaned by blowing air with compressed air. This process will remove bugs, leaves, and dirt from the radiator. The cooling system should be cleaned at suitable intervals to remove rust and scale. The following suitable procedure may be followed to remove scale from the system. So in this video we have seen about the cooling system, components of cooling system, different types of cooling system, care and maintenance of the cooling system. Thank you.